Good afternoon. We're going to be tying today a fly we haven't shown you before. This is called a gurgler. And we're tying this gurgler specifically to catch bull redfish. So it's a pretty big gurgler fly. It's tied on a 2/0 hook, fairly good size, lots of wide foam. Quite a wide silhouette in the water. It's got a lot of sparkle. We're going to tie this in a color combination that the redfish just love. Black and purple with a little hint of white, mainly for us. Okay, we're using a Gamakatsu B10S Stinger hook. Get that in the vise nice and firm. We're using black 140 denier ultra thread. First thing I'm going to do is build up a nice thread base. Take our thread all the way back to the bend of the hook. On these Gamakatsu stingers, it's just a little bit beyond the point of the hook. Now for the tail, we're going to be using Steve Farrar's SF fiber in purple and white. So take your fibers. I'm going to pull off just a little bit, little pinch of purple. And fold it in half, just like that. And measure it out. We want about, 2 hook lengths of material for the tail, and tie that in right on top of the hook. Okay, we'll take this material. We're going to reuse this, I think. Snip it off. And we've got some kind of square ends, so I'm going to pull those out so they're a little uneven. There we go. And we're going to put this right on top of what we just tied in. There we go. Gives a nice full tail. I'm going to also tie in some white as part of the tail, SF fiber. And for this, for the white, we want a lot less than we had of the purple. This is tied in mainly to help us see the fly. Maybe actually kind of invisible to the fish. Again, fold that over in half. This SF fiber just kind of goes everywhere. I'm going to trim up some of this stuff. And tie that in on top of the hook and on top of the purple. Trim off for excess. bring the thread back up there towards the front, back a little ways from the eye. And I have cut a strip of purple foam that is, I'd say, about 1/4 of an inch wide. And I'm going to trim off the end of it to give us a little point for tie-in. The purpose of this piece of foam is to provide a little bit of bulk for the body, and this will provide a little extra buoyancy. We're going to want a lot of buoyancy with this big gurgler because it's not tied on a big hook. So we want to keep that hook floating. Tie in at that tip on that taper we tied in there, and spiral your thread back towards the back. We're just building up a little layer of foam, almost back to the where you tied in the tail material, and trim that off. Now this foam is going to be invisible, so it doesn't have to be purple. You can do any color you want. You can do black, you can do white, whatever. And it doesn't have to be pretty. It's just going to be covered up with all the other materials. And I'm just kind of mashing that foam down with the thread. So it's fairly even. Okay, come all the way back to the tail. Now, for our body material, the big foam, I've got a strip that's about, this is a good 1/2 inch wide, at least 1/2 inch wide. And I'm using black in this particular color combination. So let's lay this up here and get an idea for how long this under body is going to be. It's going to be about to right there, measuring with my thumb. Okay, now I'm going to take and cut a taper in there on each side. And position that so the end of the foam, the tie down point, is going to be about where I stopped with that purple foam, which is about one eye length back from the front of the hook. Okay, now with my left hand, I'm kind of pinching the foam around the hook shank, and I'm going to take the thread, and being careful not to apply so much pressure that I break my thread, and cinch the foam down. And it's going to try to spin around the hook, but I'm going to position my finger so I keep that from happening. Now I've got it secured. Okay, now take this piece and just fold it back so it's out of our way. Now we've got two materials for the body that we're going to put in. The first is going to be the chenille, and this is just, I guess they call that a pearl medium chenille, and this is in a purple color. I'm going to peel off some of the end of that, so I'm exposing the internal threads. But before I tie that in, I'm going to tie in my other body material, which is one of my favorite new materials. It's a hollow polar chenille by Flybox. And if you don't have this, you can use other material. This is a a similar material that is a longer fiber polar chenille. You could use it in that pearl color or purple, whatever you've got. Okay, I'm going to tie this in right back here underneath that foam. Now I'm going to tie in the medium chenille. And take our thread all the way to the front. Now get those long fibers out of the way, then we can wrap this chenille all the way to the front. Tie it off. Now we can take these long fibers of the hollow chenille, stroke some of those fibers back with your fingers, and spiral them, spacing out our wraps. I've got kind of a short piece of chenille to work with, so okay, this will be fine for what we're doing. And tie that off up at the front. Trim off our excess. Now we can stroke those fibers back. Tie them down. Okay, now get those fibers pushed out of the way and take that piece of foam that's hanging out there that we measured the very first start of our foam tie, and cinch that down. I call that the underbody, okay? So if you think about this, we've got quite a bit of foam. We've got that piece that we tied down first, the 1/4 inch wide piece, and we got this underbody. Now we're going to come back with the third layer of foam over the top, like that, and tie that in just like that. Again, being careful not to pull so hard that you break your thread. You have to kind of pull those long fibers out of the way. And you can see this, we're back a good eye length away from the eye of the hook. Okay, now we're going to create the head of the fly by folding that foam back, and we're going to have this overlap the front of the eye. So in order to tie the hook on, we need to pull this back so we can get access to the eye. Okay, now we take our thread over the top of this head we created and cinch that down. With each wrap, give it a little bit of a snug pull. Okay, now we can take our scissors and come back about maybe a 1/4 inch from the tie-in point and just trim that off. Okay, then we've got square edges back here. Just for appearance sake, we're going to bevel those things. Make a diagonal cut. The fish just love that diagonal cut. I doubt if you'd ever catch a fish on this thing if you left it square. So at any rate, it's gonna work. Now, we've got to put on some legs. And we're gonna use some Barred Sexy Floss by Montana Fly Company. But you could use any variety of rubber legs or similar material. And I'm going to pull out 2 full-length legs. And we're going to take the first one and we're going to make the first set of legs. So fold it in half like that and cut it in 2. And then we're going to tie that in right. We're going to go right here at the fold of the head. That's where we want to tie it in. Okay, and once we get it 1 revolution of thread, then we can take our fingers, we can adjust this so they're about the same length on both sides. Okay? Then give it several wraps. To secure the legs. Now take the other set of legs and same thing, fold it in 2, cut it in half, and then go to the other side and check to make sure that you've got it positioned right. See, I need to make an adjustment here so I can pull that up a little ways. Okay, and now tie those down nice and secure. I'll usually take a good 8 or 10 wraps of thread. Just make sure everything is held down tight. Now, it'd be nice if we could whip finish this, but I don't know that I have the skills to whip finish that with all this stuff hanging out here, so I'd use some half hitches. So pull out a bunch of thread and form a half hitch, being careful not to tie down any of those legs where you don't want them. There's one. Two. Three. Four. And 6 ought to do it. Snip off our thread. Okay, now we've got these legs. They're all kind of a little different lengths. So we're going to pull all 8 of those legs up and get a hold of them. This is kind of where the sexy floss is better than the rubber legs, because rubber legs would stretch. The sexy floss doesn't stretch so much. So get all those pulled up. We can cut those all the same time with all the same length. That's pretty slick. Okay, now you see we've got our tie-in point here. We've had those half hitches in there, and those half hitches aren't going to be as secure as having a whip finish. So we're going to help that a little bit. I'm going to take some super glue, Zap-A-Gap, and I'm going to brush Zap-A-Gap in there on those thread wraps and that's going to make them nice and secure. So there we have the Redfish Gurgler. Kind of a nice, simple tie. Have fun making it.